Alright, what's going on, everybody? I'ma just say this shit now before we even start. I recorded this video twice, not once, twice, and I was using this application called Loom. If you guys ever record anything on your MacBooks or your Windows or your desktop, whatever, do not use Loom. That's a shitty ass application. They fucked up my video twice already. Alright, like I finished one, it didn't load for 3 hours. It didn't upload for 3 hours. My internet is fucking it's definitely decent, but it didn't fucking upload. Second time, didn't upload again. Alright, so don't fucking use Loom. Loom is dog shit. Don't use Loom. Okay, I'm using my old fucking application that I used to use. So don't use fucking Loom. Do not use that shit. Anyways, let's start. Alright, so today we're gonna be going over why to prioritize time and price theory and to separate it from quarterly theory. Alright. Now, whenever you go back to the old mentorship videos or you watch the old mentorship videos, alright, and I went over time and price theory and quarterly theory twice. First video I went over a brief explanation about what it was, and then the second video I kind of went a little bit more into depth of it to understand it a little bit more. Now you're probably over here like, Pono, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, well, what I'm talking about is time and price theory and quarterly theory should be separated from each other. All right, you should not integrate the two. They are two totally different perspectives of time and price. And ICT himself even says he doesn't use quarterly theory. Okay, he doesn't use it, and we shouldn't combine the two because quarterly theory is not a portion of his concepts, right? Now, quarterly theory, does it help? Absolutely. Does time and price theory help? Absolutely. But you should not integrate the two because they are two totally different things, all right? Now, let's move on. So, when we look at quarterly theory, we're going to be looking at the framework of accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and X stands for retracement reversal now. There are two types of frameworks for quarterly theory for AMDX cycles. You're going to have accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and then retracement reversal, or you're going to have retracement reversal, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Now, the idea of quarterly theory is going to be dialing it up from a yearly cycle all the way down to 90-minute and 22-minute cycles, okay? So it's going from the yearly perspective down to the minutely perspective. And the idea of it is that from the yearly to the minute, there's going to be it's going to be revolving around 4 quarters or 4 cycles, right? And in these 4 cycles, it does specific things. Now, in these cycles, it is a little bit confusing because you need to understand the time frames, but with it, it makes sense because it lines up with kill zones in some sort of way. But why you should separate it from time and price theory of ICT concepts is because it's not specific enough. It is not specific enough, and it gets confusing because there are parts of it that are not exactly aligned with ICT concepts, okay? So AMDX cycle, accumulation, manipulation, distribution into either a retracement or a reversal, or you start off with a retracement or a reversal going into accumulation, manipulation, distribution. All right, and that goes from yearly all the way down to sessions, all the way down to minute, whatever. Okay. So moving over to the 90-minute cycles, being specific about this. All right. So 90-minute cycles are revolved around the session times. All right. So session times. So each session, Asian, London, New York AM, New York PM, they are each 4 sessions, also known as the 4 quarters. Right. 4 cycles, 4 quarters, whatever. In these sessions, you're going to have 4 quarters per session. In these quarters, it's going to be known as the 90-minute cycles. In these cycles are going to be specific actions, right? The AMDX model or XAMD model, right? And in these, the kill zones are going to be between quarter 2 and quarter 3. But what you want to see is what's going to happen between quarter 2 and quarter 3. You don't know. And that's what I'm trying to get at today is that you don't know what's going to happen between quarter 2 and quarter 3 for the AMDX cycles and the 90-minute cycles because it doesn't specifically go over what the market does in these kill zones, right? And the reason these don't line up with ICT concepts is because if we're looking at New York AM session, right? We're looking at New York AM session and it says quarter two is from 7:30 all the way to 10:30. And, according to quarterly theory, that from quarter two to quarter three is supposed to be the kill zone. But if we look at ICT concepts, when is the actual kill zone? If we're looking at Forex, it's from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. If we're looking at indices, it's from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, right? So looking at these things, it's not specific enough to line up with ICT concepts because, number one, the kill zones aren't lined up correctly. And number two, it doesn't explain what actions it does. It only explains the kill zones, which aren't even accurate either. So the kill zones are being explained with these 90-minute cycles, but the actions in these kill zones aren't. Only actions that you can explain is what's happening with this framework model. So between quarter two and quarter three, it's going to be, tapping into a higher time frame PD array and then distributing lower or higher, right? That's all it's explaining. But you're not getting anything else other than that. But with these 90-minute cycles, you're just getting the kill zone, a big idea, a 3-hour window. That's all you're getting. Compare that to ICT's macro times, right? You compare that to the macro times. Take a look at this. What are you seeing? What I'm seeing is pretty much, I see a London macro, New York AM macro, New York lunch macro, and New York PM macro, and then the final hour macro. These macro times, and just a reminder, macro times are certain time intervals throughout the day that something will happen. Alright? So with these time intervals, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to fill in an efficiency, or it's going to take out a level of certain liquidity. So either buy side or sell side liquidity. And for inefficiencies, remember what an inefficiency is? Like a fair value gap, volume imbalance, one of those things. Okay? So, when we look at the kill zone, right? If we're looking at New York AM, this isn't the kill zone. 7:30 to 10:30, that's not the kill zone. Kill zone is from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock if we're looking at Forex, right? If we're looking at Forex, it's from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So, for the New York AM sesh, right? Why are we not counting the 8:50 macro time? Because it's pre-market. Okay? 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, that is Forex. 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, that's indices. So we're paying attention to indices, which is what I primarily trade. Market opens at 9:30. Equity open. Alright? Next macro that occurs is at 9:50 to 10:10. At 9:50 to 10:10, it's going to either fill in an efficiency or it's going to take out a level of liquidity. Same thing for the 10:50 to 11:10 macro. Same thing for 11:50 to 12:10. Same thing for 1:10 to 1:40. Same thing for 3:15 to 3:45. All of these macros, it does one of two things. Fills in an efficiency, takes out a level of liquidity. One of those two things. It's going to do one of those two things, okay? And that's going to be for every single macro. So what I want you to do is pause the video, go back through your charts and look at these macro times. Look at New York session. Remember, bottom right corner, click on New York session. Look at the 9:50 to 10:10 macro time. And let me move this fucking cursor. So, these macro times are more specific. These talk about the actions of the macro times. These talk about the kill zones, which aren't even exactly accurate either. These are just matching up everything, lining up with 90 minutes per quarter, per cycle, right? So you guys need to watch out for that. Quarterly theory talks about the kill zones, specifically more. Macro times talk about the actions, specifically more. So if we look at quarterly theory from a framework's perspective, right? Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Quarter 2 and quarter 3 are both the kill zones, right? That's where the kill zones are occurring mostly. If we're trending up, we have a buy side liquidity level. This is the level that the market wants to take out. Takes it out in quarter 3. Trends back down, reverses. How would we know it's going to take it out specifically here? This is a 3-hour window of quarter 2 and quarter 3. How do we know it's going to take it out there? We don't. That's why it's not specific enough for us to anticipate when it's going to happen. And that is going to happen during that time. When we look at the macro times, if you look at 9:50, 10:10 macro, 10:50, 11:10 macro. Now we know why the market is coming up to here. Market's trending up Boom, 9:50 macro time happens. We see the 60-minute fair value gap, which is what? An inefficiency. Market comes up, taps into it between 9:50 and 10:10 macro, fills the inefficiency, creates a 2022 model for us. We enter on that 2022 model. Now, after we enter, we have our stops above the previous high. Where are we targeting our TP at? Sell side liquidity that it generated down here. How do we know when it's going to tap that? When is it going to purge it? When is it going to pierce sell side liquidity? 10:50, 11:10 macro. That's when it's going to pierce sell side liquidity, which is going to be a level of liquidity. Remember, what does the market do when it hits the macro times? It's going to either fill in an inefficiency or it's going to take out a level of liquidity. It already took out an inefficiency here. So what could it possibly do? It could take out a level of liquidity here, which is going to be the sell side liquidity here. Once it purges this, takes it out, we can start trending higher now. Another 2022 model, but a bullish model, right? So with the macro times, you are being way more specific than you would with the quarterly theory. With quarterly theory, you have an idea of what could possibly happen in this 3-hour window. With the macro time, you know what's going to happen in 20 minutes. It's going to do one of two things in this 20-minute window. It's going to fill this inefficiency, or it's going to take out a liquidity level. One of the two things. And whatever it does, you take advantage of that, form a model out of that. You need to pay attention to what's going to happen during these macro times, because that's when you can benefit off of the actions of the market. Okay? Now, I know I'm rushing a little bit. It's because I recorded this shit twice already, and I'm in a bit of a rush, but I'm still going to give you guys the sauce right here about why you need to understand this. Quarterly theory. You do not need this. You do not need quarterly theory. It is good to be knowledgeable about it, and the reason I gave it to you guys is so you guys know and be aware of what it is. But you do not need quarterly theory. Why don't you need quarterly theory? Because it's not the basis of time and price theory. Time and price theory dials it all the way back to a yearly profile. Right? Dials it back all the way back to seasonal tendencies. Time and price theory dials it all the way back to session times. And then it dials it all the way down into macro times. So time and price theory is dialing it down into being more specific each time you dial it down. It's not about keeping it about 4 quarters each time. It's not about having the same model each quarter. Now, does quarterly theory work? Yes. Is it beneficial? Absolutely. But do you need it? No, you do not. ICT doesn't use quarterly theory. So you do not need to have quarterly theory in your analysis. But what do you need is time and price theory. Macro times will help. Kill zones will help. Right? So, understand the kill zones. Understand the macro times. Understand the opens, which is going to be at 9:30 and 8:30 during New York AM session. That's going to be 3 a.m. for London session. That's going to be 1:30 for PM session. So understand each of these. Understand each of these to benefit from being able to anticipate what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Okay? Now, I want you to separate yourself from what's on these charts right now and talk to yourself and being like, okay, if these macro times are every single day and these actions happen every single macro time, why in the charts, and let's say you have used macros in the past and you tried it, why have I never seen this happen in real life time? That's because you're not open-minded enough. When you're on the charts, right? And you're on the 1 minute time frame. Do you stay there or are you flicking through 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute time frames? I bet you're not. You need to flick through multiple time frames for you to get the idea of when something is going to happen. If it doesn't happen, it's because you're not being open-minded enough. Do not stay stuck on the 1 minute time frame. Do not be stuck on the 5 minute time frame. Do not be stuck on the fucking 1 hour, 4 hour time frame. You need to be able to be adapting on the go, on the fly. You need to adapt to different time frames at the same time, multiple times, and you can't stop. You need to be patient, but you also can't rush things. So with quarterly theory, be open-minded about that this is a thing. But with the macros and time and price theory, prioritize this. Prioritize time and price theory and separate it from quarterly theory. Okay? So for you guys' homework, what I want you to do is I want you to go through your charts. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, I don't care. But go to these macro times and see, does it fill in inefficiency? Or does it take out a level of buy side or sell side liquidity? What does it do? And I want you guys to look at that and pay attention to that. And if it does it, that's your proof in the pudding that these concepts work. And you saw it for yourself. But other than that, I hope you guys took this video and can apply it to your charts and apply it to yourselves as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next video.